Hey, peace. What's happening, everyone? On our deal with.
Like the rushing of a mighty wind. Like the rushing of a mighty wind.
Were the Moors that conquered Spain black or Negroid? The short answer, the Moors who conquered Spain were not a single race. They were a mixed group of North Africans and Arabs, and their physical appearance ranged widely. Some may have been dark-skinned, but most historians do not describe the conquering force as Negroid in the modern racial sense. Here is the historical background. Number 1. Who the Moors actually were. The term Moor was used by Europeans to describe Muslims from North Africa, especially Berbers or Amazigh, who were indigenous North Africans and the majority of the army. Arabs from the Umayyad Caliphate. Later mixtures including Iberian converts, Sub-Saharan Africans, Arabs and Berbers born in Al-Andalus. The 711 invasion of Spain was led by Tariq ibn Ziyad, a Berber commander serving the Umayyad governor Musa ibn Nasir. Most of Tariq's army, around 70 to 80%, were Berbers from Morocco and Algeria. Number 2. What Berbers looked like. Berbers historically have very diverse appearances because North Africa has always been a crossroads between Africa, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Europe. They ranged from light-skinned with straight hair, olive or brown skin, darker skin tones. Some Berbers had clear Sub-Saharan African ancestry, but many looked similar to modern Moroccans, Algerians, or Tunisians. 3. Presence of Sub-Saharan Africans. There were black Africans in Al-Andalus, but they were not the majority of the invading army. Sub-Saharan Africans appeared in Spain through trans-Saharan trade, military slavery, and migration within the Islamic world. Over centuries, African soldiers and communities did exist in Muslim Spain, especially in later periods. Number 4. Why some sources portray the Moors as black. There are several reasons for the confusion. Medieval European art. European art sometimes depicted Moors as very dark or black to symbolize foreignness. Later historical narratives. Different modern groups interpret Moorish identity differently. Some Afrocentric scholars emphasize African connections to Moorish Spain. Some European narratives historically minimized African influence. The reality is more complex. Moorish Spain was a multi-ethnic Islamic civilization. 5. What most historians agree on. Most historians conclude the majority of the conquering army were Berbers from North Africa. They were not a homogeneous black African population. Moorish Spain included people from many ethnic backgrounds. So the best description is, the Moors were primarily North African Berbers and Arabs, with a wide range of physical appearances rather than a single racial identity. Simple way to think about it. The Berbers, or North African Amazigh, were the majority of the army. The Arabs were the leadership and elite. Sub-Saharan Africans had a minority presence. Iberian converts were a later population of Al-Andalus. Are the North Africans today phenotypically the same as the Berbers? Short answer, partially yes, but not completely. Modern Northern Africans still contain Berber or Amazigh ancestry, but the populations today are genetically and phenotypically more mixed than the Berbers of the early medieval period. 1. Indigenous base population, Amazigh or Berbers. The Amazigh Berbers are the indigenous population of North Africa, present long before Arab expansion, Islamic conquest, European colonization. They historically lived across Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and parts of Egypt and the Sahara. Modern Amazigh groups, Kabyle, Tuareg, Rif, etc., still retain many phenotypic traits associated with ancient Berbers. Typical range of traits historically observed: light to medium brown skin, sometimes darker Saharan complexions, straight or wavy hair, occasionally lighter eyes, especially in mountain regions. But even historically, Berbers were not phenotypically uniform. 2. Major migrations that changed North African populations. After the Moorish era, and especially after the 7th to 11th centuries, North Africa experienced several large migrations that changed the gene pool. Arab migrations. Following the Islamic expansion, large Arab tribal migrations occurred, including tribes like Banu Hilal, Banu Sulaim. These migrations introduced Arab ancestry and cultural Arabization across North Africa. Mediterranean mixing. North Africa also mixed with populations from Romans, Phoenicians, Vandals, Byzantines, Ottomans, Southern Europeans. This further diversified the phenotype. Trans-Saharan contact. For over 1,500 years, trade routes across the Sahara connected North Africa to West Africa. This led to some Sub-Saharan African ancestry in North African populations, especially in southern Morocco, Algeria, and Libya. 3. What modern North Americans look like. Today, North Americans show a wide phenotypic spectrum: light Mediterranean complexions, olive skin tones, brown skin tones, darker Saharan complexions. Hair textures range from straight, wavy, and curly. This diversity reflects the region's long history as a Mediterranean African crossroads. 4. Genetic studies. Most genetic research finds that modern North Africans are roughly a mixture of indigenous Amazigh ancestry, the largest component, Arab Middle Eastern ancestry, Mediterranean European ancestry, and a smaller Sub-Saharan African ancestry. The proportions vary by region. In Morocco and the Algeria mountains, there's a higher Amazigh ancestry. In the coastal cities, they're more mixed. In the Sahara, there's more African admixture. 5. Important historical point. Even before Arab migration, North Africa was already genetically mixed due to Phoenician settlements like Carthage, Roman rule, Mediterranean trade, so there was never a single fixed Berber phenotype. The best way to summarize: modern Northern Africans descend largely from Berbers, but centuries of migration and mixing changed the population. So today's North Africans are not phenotypically identical to early Berbers, though the core ancestry remains. Why were they called Blackamoors if they weren't mostly black? The term Blackamoor developed in medieval and early modern Europe, and does not necessarily mean the Moors were mostly black Africans. The word evolved from how Europeans described dark or foreign people, and it had several meanings depending on the time period. 1. The word itself. Blackamoor comes from two parts: black, referring to dark complexion, and Moor, Europeans' term for Muslims from North Africa, or Al-Andalus. So Blackamoor literally meant a dark Moor. By the 15th to 17th centuries, Europeans used the word for North Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and sometimes any dark-skinned Muslim. It became a loose racial term, not a precise ethnic description. 2. Medieval European language worked differently. In medieval Europe, color terms were relative, not scientific racial categories. For example, Southern Europeans were sometimes called black by Northern Europeans. Arabs were described as black compared to Europeans. Ethiopians might be called very black. So black often meant darker than Europeans, not necessarily Sub-Saharan African. 3. Moors were darker than most Europeans. Many North Africans had olive or brown skin and darker complexions than Northern Europeans. So medieval Europeans sometimes described them as black, even though they would not be considered black Africans today. 4. Sub-Saharan Africans were also present. Another reason the term spread is that actual black Africans did appear in Moorish Spain through trans-Saharan trade, military service, and migration. So Europeans sometimes saw both Berbers and South Saharan Africans within Moorish societies. 5. Blackamoor became a generic term. By the 1500s to 1700s, the term Blackamoor in Europe was used for African servants, enslaved Africans, Muslim North Africans, and sometimes any dark foreigner. It became more of a European stereotype than an accurate description. Simple summary: Moors were called Blackamoor mainly because 1. Europeans used black loosely for darker peoples. 2. Many North Africans had darker skin than Europeans. 3. Some actual Sub-Saharan Africans were present. And 4. The term became a broad label for exotic or foreign people. The interesting historical twist. In medieval Europe, the word Moor itself eventually became shorthand for black person, even though the original Moors were primarily North African Berbers and Arabs. The following images are authentic styles of medieval or early modern European depictions of Black Moors, paintings, sculptures, and heraldry. These images played a major role in reinforcing the idea that all Moors were Black Africans. 1. Blackamoor art and decorative figures from Europe. These were popular in Italy, Spain, and Austria, often shown as Black African servants used in furniture, lamps, and royal decor. And they reinforced the image of Moors as Black and subordinate. This is where the term Blackamoor really took visual form. 2. Medieval and Renaissance paintings of Black Moors. Key examples include Black King Balthazar in Adoration of the Magi, Saint Maurice depicted as a Black African soldier, and court paintings showing Black attendants labeled as Moors. These images made Moor visually synonymous with Black African identity in European imagination. 3. Heraldry and coat of arms, Black Moor heads. You'll find these across Europe, Sardinia and Corsica flags, German regions like Freising, noble family crests. Features Black head profile, often with headband or crown. These symbols spread the idea that Moor equals Black African across Europe. 4. Religious sculptures of Black saints or Moors. Examples: Saint Maurice in Germany, one of the earliest realistic Black figures in European art. Saint Benedict the Moor in Italy or Spain, and church statues depicting African-looking Moors. These gave religious legitimacy to the image of Moors as Black. Why these images matter? These visuals didn't reflect the full reality of Al-Andalus. Instead, they highlighted the most visually distinct figures, Black Africans. They reflected European encounters with African slaves, soldiers, and envoys. And they gradually flattened a diverse group, Moors, into a single racial image. European art played a major role in shaping the idea that the Moors were Black. Not because they all were, but because those were the images that stood out and got repeated. On the left, you see how Europeans often depicted Moors, clearly African, royal, and visually distinct. But on the right, you see a more historically grounded image: North African Berbers and Arabs, who made up the majority of the invading force. Did the Moors find it disrespectful to be referred to as Black? Short answer, no, because they weren't using Black the way Europeans later did. The idea of Black as a rigid racial identity like today didn't really exist in the Moorish world, so it wasn't something they would have reacted to in the same way. 1. Different worldview. Identity does not equal race. In Al-Andalus and the wider Islamic world, people identified more by religion, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, by tribe or lineage, Arab, Berber, etc., by region, Andalusi, Maghrebi, etc., and by language or culture, not primarily by race in the modern sense. So calling someone Black wasn't a central identity marker, the way it later became in Europe and the Americas. 2. Color terms existed, but meant something different. There were words in Arabic like aswad for black and abiyad for white, but these were used descriptively, not as rigid social categories. For example, someone could be described as dark or light, but that didn't automatically define their status or identity. 3. Status mattered more than skin color. What mattered more socially? Were you free or enslaved? Were you Arab, higher prestige, or non-Arab? Were you elite or commoner? A light-skinned Berber could be lower status than an Arab. A dark-skinned person could hold power in certain contexts. So black wasn't the main dividing line. 4. But there were biases. Let's keep it real. This wasn't a colorblind society. There were negative stereotypes towards some Sub-Saharan Africans in parts of the Islamic world, especially in literature and in slave systems. So darker skin could carry social bias, but it wasn't the same structured racial system that later developed in Europe and the Americas. 5. Would a Moor be offended by being called black? Depends on the context. If descriptive or appearance, probably not a big issue. If used like Europeans did later, as a category or implying inferiority, then yes, it could be seen as insulting or inaccurate. Especially because most Moors would think of themselves as Muslim, Berber or Arab, or from a specific place, not black as a primary identity. The Moors didn't see themselves as black the way we use the term today. That label and the meaning behind it was largely shaped by how Europeans categorized them. That's all the questions I had for ChatGPT for now. And so, for now, if you like the video, like the video. If you don't like the video, leave a comment and tell us why you don't like the video. Either way, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and you done know. We're gonna catch you on the next one. Peace.
Ooh, yeah. Now. Suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind. Come and feel our hearts again, like the rushing of a mighty wind, like a river that is overflow, like a river that is overflow. Come and feel our hearts once more, like a river that is overflow. Let it overflow, let it overflow, let it overflow, let it over, let it overflow, let it overflow, let it overflow, let it over. And let the people come from miles around as you send your spirit down, just to revive your church, to revive your church again. Please come in like a rushing wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind. Come and feel our hearts again, rushing of a mighty wind. Let it overflow, 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 let it over, and let the people come from miles around as you send your spirit down, just to revive your church, to revive your church again. Please come in like a rushing wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind, like the rushing of a mighty wind. Come and fill our hearts again, like the rushing of a mighty wind, like a river that is overflow, like a river that is overflow.